Hi guys, welcome back. In this video, I'll tell you about how I crashed this at the Nurburgring.
So just off the carousel, we were coming up to Hedwigshochel, and it was a drying track, so there was a dry line, but most of the track was still wet. Around about this point, I went to overtake a slower car, so I went over to the left, and here I was on the wet patch, hit a bump, and ended up in this barrier here because I lost the back end. I just became a passenger in a split second, and the back let go. So totally my fault. I lost control of the car and I should have been more careful. But it is what it is. Luckily, I wasn't hurt, and the track wasn't shut, and there wasn't anybody else involved. So the car took quite a bit of a bump. The rear left wheel was completely gone. The quarter took a bit of a hit. The airbags went off, and the car was immobilized because the pyro fuse got triggered. I got out of the car straight away and jumped behind the barrier where it was safe. And shortly after, the marshals arrived, and they coned off the section where there was mud on the track and where my car was. The car and I were then taken to Lens compound, which is just by the GP track, where the car was inspected. I paid the bill and I asked for the car to be recovered to my friend's hotel. At which point we started mending the car. I jumped the pyro fuse while my friend got to cutting out the curtain airbag, which got deployed. I then jacked the car up and removed the tow arm, which was pretty bent, and no kidding, we found some rocks between the garages in the car park, and we did exactly this. We smashed the arm with those rocks and bricks which we could find and slabs until it was more or less straight. Once it was fairly straight, we compared the length of it to the arm on the other side, which seemed to be more or less there. We then bolted it all back together, and the wheel seemed to be pointing in the right direction. So we bolted everything back together, replaced the wheel because we had a spare, and the car was then drivable again. The following morning, we went to 24/7 Performance, where I was able to buy a second-hand tow arm, and after that we headed over to Jako's paddock, whom I've dealt with before, and he's a fantastic guy. He sold me the tie rod end assembly, and after that it was a wonderful day, and we thought it's a shame to waste it, so we went and did some laps in my friend's 135i, and that was it. In the morning we set off to my buddy's place just outside Cologne, who kindly let us use his workshop to fit the parts that we got, so the tie rod and the tow arm, and after that we headed back over to the UK. As soon as we arrived in UK, we drove straight to my buddy's body shop, this one here, who was kind enough to take the car in and pretty much started working on it the following week. He then closer inspected the damage, which wasn't too bad, to be fair. That needed to be pulled out, and he done a fantastic repair job on the actual quarter panel using minimum filler to get it back to its original shape. And then he painted it, and I picked it up a few weeks later.
So now it sits, as I picked it up from the body shop just before Christmas, with the bodywork addressed and the damage fixed for the most part. So as you can see, I've had the front bumper repainted just because it had a scuff on that side. I've also had both side skirts repainted just because they've had quite a few stone chips around this area here. The rear quarter has also been repainted and repaired around the tail light area. I replaced the bumper bracket, which sits directly behind there, and I replaced the tail light. I also took this opportunity to cut some go faster holes in the rear bumper just because I think it looks cool, and apparently it helps with the airflow. I still need to remove the bumper and cut a few pieces out and remove this polystyrene bumper backing to allow for the actual airflow to come out from this end, and I think I've got to cut holes in the bumper carrier, and then I'll put mesh just to cover these holes up, and I'll see if I can get mesh to go in there to cover these outer holes as well. But I think with the spoiler, diffuser and the front splitter, this should suit the car fairly well. So join me in the next episode when I'll try and put everything right with the car and replace all the parts that I still have yet to replace, as well as fitting new suspension and a few other bits and pieces that I need to upgrade.
So the total cost then, recovery was about €500, which I had to pay as soon as the car was recovered. The barrier repair was about €1,300, which I received an invoice for about a month later at my home address. And the car repair is the car repair. It's all very subjective, and it depends on what parts you have in the car, what car you drive, and whether you're able to find parts for a reasonable price, and whether you have connections in terms of being able to have the bodywork done and so on and so forth. So that cost is not something I'm willing to disclose. However, given the situation and the circumstances, I think I was very lucky and got away with minimal damage and nobody was hurt, which really is the main thing. So I just want to say massive thank you to everybody who helped me in the situation, and I'm feeling incredibly blessed not to be hurt after an accident, and I'll definitely be going back again next year. Hopefully this was the first and last time this has happened. So stay tuned, guys. See you again in the next one.